I decided this is how I was going to deal with sun flash, but it looks so ridiculous that I've decided maybe not. I don't know. What do you think? It's just ridiculous, but I'm so grateful for the beautiful weather. Okay, guys, today we're going to have a conversation about what's going on with me. Plus, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about quilting, which was a special request from some of the people in the Facebook group. I have jacked the volume on this video all the way up to accommodate some people who were saying that the volume was too quiet to hear on some of the videos, and I have noticed that too. It's all a part of what happened when I changed my operating system and all of that. A lot of things have changed for the worse, but I've cranked the volume up as high as I can, and I'll edit the video with a little bit higher volume to see if we can't work that out. Okay, so I'm having back problems. I'm having major back problems. I'm going to go in for an MRI on Friday, and then the next month or two of my life is going to be consumed with physical therapy and things of that nature. I don't have a diagnosis. I'm not dying. I'm not sick. At least there's no reason to think that I am. Something has gone terribly wrong. Again, in my lower lumbar spine, and this is a historical issue with me. It started in 2005, so I'm probably going to be here every now and then because I'll still be at home, and I can usually sit for a few minutes and do this. But I'm probably going to be a lot less active on the Facebook group for a little while, and there's not going to be a whole lot I can do about that until we get me pain-free. I am in so much pain. I have not been in this much pain for this long ever in my whole life. People who say that childbirth is the most painful part of the human experience are so full of crap. They have no idea what they're talking about. I would give birth every day of the week and twice on Sunday to get rid of this. But today I thought, because there's a couple of things I wanted to do video-wise that I'm still working on, like my cleaners and things like that, but I had a special request to talk to you guys about quilting a little bit, and to show you where I keep my sewing stuff, how I store my fabric, that kind of thing. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just kind of walk around my house and show you the different areas where I've tucked everything away? Because even though I really like my home, I think my home is nice, and I like the way I've set up my house and everything. We have a very small home. We don't need a big house, and I like our little house, but putting things away can be tricky. So I'm going to show you how I've organized all my sewing stuff, where I keep my fabric, where I hide my stuff to put it away when I'm not using it. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about how I got into quilting and the places that I go to learn things, because really, you can't even call me a quilter yet. I don't have a finished quilt yet, but it's my new obsession, that and pad making. So anyway, that's what this video will be about, and I'm going to walk you through a couple places in my house that I just don't do videos in there, so you haven't seen them yet, and show you everything. Okay, you guys see this room a lot in the background when I iron things. This is my library area. This is my book nerdity right here. This is technically supposed to be a dining room, but we don't use a formal dining room, so I used it for my books. And this is where my ironing board sits when I have things out, and this is my quilt square pile that I'm working on right now. And they are, I'll show you a picture. I'll probably cut this video and show you a picture of the quilt as I have it so far. Okay, these are the squares that I've assembled so far. These are just, I'm taking scrap squares that are 6.5 inches around, and then I'm adding a 2.5 inch border to them. And I just have so much scrap fabric left from making pads over the last year, and I love scrappy quilts. So I found pictures of something called a Rebecca Amy quilt, and I'm not using a pattern, I just kind of doing something that looks similar to that, because my middle name is Rebecca, so I thought it was Kismet. And then here we're just gonna walk past the front door. This is my living room. That's my kitchen table over there where I sew, and then on the other side of that wall is my kitchen, and that's pretty much my whole house. All right, now we're gonna walk in here, which is this is my guest room, and it looks like, oh, there she is. When you leave the door open in here, she likes this room because there's a down comforter on the bed. But this is my guest room, and it looks, like a normal little guest room, but this is where all of my goodies are hidden. Say hello, Cadence. Hi, puppy. She's giving me that look. I'm about to get pounced. I'm going to get pounced. Hello, say hello. All right. So now you'll notice over here on this little bench, I've tried to make it look as nice as possible. I have extra blankets that I have no closet space for underneath that bench. But over there on the left is all of my fleece that I use for backers. And as you can see, I'm running low on fleece. This right here is a little quilt topper that will be a twin-sized quilt for Elizabeth's room. This was my very first effort at quilting, and Elizabeth helped me. Let's see if I can spread it out a little bit. This is just a jelly roll quilt, and I will give you a link in the description on how to do something like this. And then, so after we did the jelly roll part, which is where you just basically sew together just a metric ton of these 2.5-inch strips to get the size you want, then we just use this fabric to add borders to make it big enough to be twin size. So once I miter these corners on this outer pink border, then it will be ready for me to start the actual quilting process. And I think I have a picture of this topper, and I'll cut out and show you a picture of this all laid out too. This is a picture of it before we put any border on. This is just a jelly roll race quilt, and you find many videos. I'm going to give you my favorite one as a suggestion, and this is what it looked like before we put borders on it. Okay, so now this is the little chest of drawers that, you know, looks like it's for guest use, but it's not. It's full of sewing stuff. This little box here is where everything gets kept. This is my sewing tackle box. It's a box that was created for anglers, fishermen, but I use it for all of my sewing equipment. And over here, this little compartment is empty right now, but this is where my foot pedal and electric cord for my sewing machine go when I put that away. And it has these little things. This looks relatively empty because this is where my rotary cutter lives, but right now it's out on the kitchen table because I was using it. And then over here I just put things that don't fit anywhere. Bits and bobs that don't fit anywhere else. Right now it's thread and buttons that snaps that I don't have room for. Okay, so in the top I have zippers and ribbon and pre-wound bobbins and pins and my fabric scissors. They stay in here and nobody's allowed to touch. Okay, my video got interrupted, sorry. So this card here is where I wrote down dimensions for quilts so that I could figure out how many squares I would need. And I just keep all that kind of stuff in here. Okay, so that's the top. And then down here, you open this little guy. And this is my little snap container. I keep all my little cam snaps, cam snapping plier stuff in here. And this is my thread. I keep all of my thread in here. The vast majority of this thread, it looks like such an impressive collection, doesn't it? And I have to say, other than the white thread, I don't think I purchased any of this myself. Oh, no, I also purchased this black thread here. But when I first announced that I was going to start learning to sew, my mother and her friend, Miss Gracie, that's her fishing buddy, they sent me a box full of sewing stuff, and almost all of this thread was included. I've used a lot of thread that they sent me already. There used to be so much more. And it was all just stuff they had laying around because they were both sewers, and so they gave me leftover things. In fact, almost everything I have in this box originally came from them. They really were good to me when I told them I wanted to learn to sew. Okay, so that was my fishing thing. Excuse me, I'm going to stand up, so watch out for motion sickness with the camera here. Okay, so now I keep, I'm not going to show you these because they're so messy, but all my paper patterns are in here, like paper patterns and pads that I started and didn't finish. This is just, yeah, you see, stuff I'm working on right now that I wanted to put away but have readily accessible. This is the magic drawer. And I'll show you a photo of this if this doesn't translate. But this is my fabric drawer, and I have it separated out into, you know, cottons and flannels. And then what's interesting is the rest of these two drawers here were full of stuff. So I've just thrown all my velour and my zorb, and these are bags of scraps, just bags of scraps from previous things that I've done that I didn't want to throw away. And some of the, down here you'll see things that are supposed to be hung up on the wall. This is some of the first PUL I bought from Babyville packets, and there's my PUL, my Zorb, and my velour and cotton fleece and stuff, and it's really messy right now, so I'm sorry about that. And then the bottom drawer has other things in it, this personal photographs and stuff. Now over here in this closet, which I'm trying to back up far enough so you don't get vertigo trying to watch this video. Okay, this is the closet in here, and when we keep coats and jackets and things, but we also have down here, you'll see that's batting and polyfill and bags of sewing stuff that doesn't fit anywhere. And then this little container here is full of absolutely nothing but yarn and crochet. Here, let me see if I can get this. There we go. This is my yarn thing, and it sometimes it's more organized, but I think Lizzie has been in here. But I've got all of my yarns and previous crochet projects in process, in progress crochet projects in here. Let's see. This one's for a really... And so of all my crochet stuff, this is the project that I'm most actively working on. These are my, these are from yarn that I got when I lived in Ireland, and I've learned to do, you know, these are just regular granny squares, but I've done, trying some different designs and flowers and poofies and things like that. I'm kind of proud of some of them. I really like them. And this is just incredibly soft yarn that I got when I was in Ireland, and it just, whenever I'm really homesick for Dublin, I get that out and work on a couple more. And eventually that'll be a big bedspread. Okay, that's a big pile of jeans and t-shirts that I'm keeping for quilting later. And then all of my quilting rulers and stuff go here. The sewing machine sits here when I've put it away, and this is the table extender for my sewing machine. So the last thing I'll show you is I'll just walk you out to my kitchen because my sewing machine's out there, and I'll show you where I have that set up. Okay, so welcome to my kitchen table, and every night when we eat dinner I have to clean this off. I left it out last night while I was sewing, so I'll have to clean this up this afternoon, but it's all out here. This is just the pile of fabric scraps that I have out right now, and this is just my general, this is another one of those things that fits in that tackle box. It's got, you know, my presser feet and rotary cutter blades and just clover clips, pins, things that I use every time I sew. So this comes out every time I sew. And then this is a pile of strips I'm using. There's my glorious machine. I love it. And my rotary cutter and scissors and the big pile of mess that I've left out here on my kitchen table. And my pin cushion that I made for my very own. I love this thing so much. This is from a J. Wecker Fresh fabric pattern. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. So I will take you back upstairs now. There's my, everybody asks, what's your sewing machine? This is my sewing machine. It is a Brother CS6000i, and I bought it because it had good reviews on Amazon and was within my price range. They go on sale pretty frequently if you're interested in one. Okay, upstairs again. Okay, so I hope that was fun. I know I'm always curious, you know, I used to love it when I would go to one of my favorite YouTube channels and they would do something like that, where they would go around and show you parts that you don't see on the videos, because all you ever see is just this behind my desk in my tiny little office. So, and you know, every now and then, you know, I'll go down to my sewing table, but all you're looking at is my cutting mat and my sewing machine. So that's the spatial configuration of my home. And those are the two quilting projects that I'm working on right now. I've made a couple of coasters and things like that to practice free motion quilting, and so there's a couple of things I wanted to tell you that I'm interested in for quilting. The first thing is that I recommend that you start with a block, because it's just, you cut squares that are the same size and then you sew them together and you make something, and then it's like, oh, you know, look, I have a quilt, boom, right, like that. But basically my interest in quilts, I love quilts. I have always loved quilts. I'm a huge sucker for buying quilts. Something about ceramic dinnerware and coffee mugs and quilts. I'm not allowed to look at those things on internet after midnight, and I'm not making that up. That's a rule in this house. Amy is not allowed to look at quilts, fabric now. Before, for years, it's just been, I'm not allowed to look at ceramic dinnerware, and I'm not allowed to look at quilts or bedding on the internet after midnight, because I have a tendency to impulse purchase when I'm sleepy. And now that includes fabric, since I've started sewing. But when I started sewing cloth pads, sewing was not something I ever thought that I could do. It froze up really hard that time. Okay, so sewing is not something that I ever thought that I would be interested in or that I would be capable of doing. I just never, historically throughout most of my adult life, I just never thought I'd be interested in sewing. But when I decided that I needed to switch to cloth, and I didn't have money to buy a bunch of cloth pads at the time, it kind of pushed me into learning to sew. So once I started sewing cloth pads, it was my natural inclination to want to quilt. So the quilting and the pad making, the pad making led to the wanting to learn how to quilt. And I have done that with 3 different YouTube channels. There are 3 YouTube channels that I've used to learn different things for quilting. And all 3 of those links will be in the description on this video. And if you're interested in quilting at all, I highly recommend going and looking at the quilting videos from all 3 of these channels, because they're amazing. The first one, and by hands down my favorite, is the Missouri Star Quilt Company's YouTube channel. The Missouri Star Quilt Company is a family-run business in Hamilton, Missouri, and they are an amazing story. If you Google them, you'll see news articles about how their company was created, and it has become, you know, this big tourist attraction in this tiny town with a population of less than 2,000 people in the middle of the American Midwest, because of this marvelous woman, Jenny Doan, and her just magnetic personality and teaching ability in front of the camera on YouTube with YouTube quilting tutorials. She's amazing. And I've learned quite a few things from her. But I also have watched lots of videos on a YouTube channel called Quilty. And I didn't realize that that was the one, because I'm not a subscriber. I am now, but I wasn't before. And it's freaking out, so I'm going to start a new clip. Okay, so the second YouTube channel that I like for learning quilting is called Quilty. And again, all links are going to be in the description for these 3 YouTube channels. And it's a company called Fons and Porter. And the woman who does most of the tutorials on Quilty is a woman named Mary Fons, I believe. I hope I'm not wrong about that. If I am, I'll try to correct myself. And she's just great. She has this very calm, quiet, you know, happy demeanor about her that's just very soothing when you're learning something new. And then the third one that I really love, and she's amazing. She doesn't just do quilting videos, but she has quite a few quilting videos. She does sewing and decorating and crafting projects and things like that. Her name is Melanie Hamm. And I believe that she's kind of I think that she got her start on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. I think she has a larger presence elsewhere other than just YouTube, but the place that I know her from, Melanie from, is YouTube. And she has some really great, there goes the phone, hold on, I have to take this. That was the people who come to give Cadence her bath. It's a big splurge that we do. We don't splurge on a lot of things, but it's not really that much more expensive. And it's a small business run by this local woman and a person that I know from the doggy daycare where we leave Cadence when she needs to be boarded when we go on vacation. They're coming to the house to give Cadence a bath. They come in their little trailer. They have a little mobile dog grooming business, and she gets a bath once a month, and I just think that's the sweetest thing. So anyway, that's who that was. But Melanie Hamm does lots of free motion quilting videos on her YouTube channel, and they're amazing. You really should check her out, especially if you're interested in not just learning to piece quilts, but actually quilting them on your own home sewing machine. because that's the big thing, is that a lot of people will piece their quilts, they'll make their quilt toppers, and then they will take them to a professional with a long arm quilting machine to have the quilting done. But I want to do it myself, and Melanie Hamm has some great videos about that. Now, there are quite a few videos on YouTube, lots of different YouTube channels that are wonderful, good individual tutorials on how to quilt, but those are my three favorites. And for giving me the confidence to try free motion quilting, the actual quilting process where you take the topper and the batting and the backer and then you quilt them together, Melanie Hamm's videos have definitely been the ones that I preferred for that. So I'm going to leave you with those links. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've done about all the sitting I can do today. I'm struggling, so I'm actually really glad that I have the excuse of having to get up and go get Cadence ready for her bath, because I need to get out of this chair before I scream. But I will talk to you guys again soon, as soon as I go through this very next cycle, which won't be for a couple weeks, but as soon as I get through this very next cycle, my cleaner video for part 2 will be ready, because this is my final cleaner to try for that. And I don't know why, I love the cleaner thing. I'm having so much fun testing cleaners for stain treatment. So I hope you guys like the video as much as I do, because I'm really looking forward to it. Alright, thanks for supporting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you again soon.